Hello. I just downloaded a Mortician's Tale. Oh, that's loud. I don't really know anything about this game, but it looked kind of cute, so here we are. Alright. I'll turn my lamp off. Do I click? Click. Let's see. Hello and welcome to our new funeral director. From Matthew to Charlie. Welcome, nice to meet you. My name's Matthew. I'm mainly going to be the man who delivers the bodies to you and helps with some of the more heavy lifting. Ever hear that joke about a hearse driver? I'll tell it to you when I come by in a bit. Looking forward to working together. I think you'll enjoy working here. Amy is a sweetheart, but she runs a tight shop. Nothing you can't handle, I'm sure. She wouldn't have hired you otherwise. Cheers and good luck. Take this opportunity to introduce our new funeral director, Charlotte, or Charlie, as she likes to be referred to. Charlie is a recent graduate who came highly recommended and is eager to begin her career here with us at Rose and Daughter's Funeral Home. Please take the time to make Charlie feel at home within our little family. We'll have a nice catered lunch this afternoon, so we can all get to know each other a little bit better as well. Let's see, it's from the same day, right? September 14th. Yay. This one's long. I guess I'll read it. I guess my subject lines to you should start being more professional now that we are business professionals. I can't wait to get your reply so I can see your fancy new email signature. I love that you were able to land this gig straight after graduating. It sounds super cool. I didn't even know mom and pop funeral homes were a thing until now. Guess it's just not something I really think much about. I should look more into this, learn about your world and industry, because as I said, you are now a very serious professional. Speaking of being a professional, my museum gig is amazing. I can't believe somebody paid me to move to London, and not London, Ontario? Serial killer capital of Canada. Is that a thing? To work in a museum. Like, take that, everyone who said I couldn't get a job with an art history degree. I'll tell you more about it when we Skype. My stories require you to see my face. Now you hear my excellent British accent impersonation. I also signed you up for a funerals monthly newsletter. Consider it your graduation gift. I love you. I'm super proud of you, gift. Curator. Nice. Today's tasks. Hope you're settled in okay so far. Matthew should have dropped off your first body for you to work on. He said you were really friendly and he's glad to have someone young and lively to work with. You'll get used to his sense of humor. Your first body is Mrs. Garcia, an elderly woman who suddenly died of a heart attack. The family has asked for a closed casket funeral, so no embalming or body preservation is necessary. The family seems a little bit more united than previous families we've dealt with. Strange how grief affects people differently. Perhaps having more time to say goodbye makes things easier, if that's possible. That being said, although you will not be embalming Mrs. Garcia, I do think it's important to take the time to clean her body. No one's going to see her body, but I like to encourage my funeral directors to do this out of respect for the deceased and their loved ones. You'll find Mrs. Garcia in the prep room. It's nice. She seems nice. Understand that there are usually procedures that must be followed in these situations. We could kindly not involve my mother. I'd be greatly appreciated, and we will proceed with a closed casket for the service. I just know she wouldn't have wanted her death to have any negative impact on the environment. Well, that's nice. And since she fought so hard to beat her heart disease until it healthily, it'd be a shame for final moments to be a counter to the way she lived. Okay. Thanks for subscribing. Each month we bring you a new newsletter featuring a topic pertaining to the death industry. This month is all about good etiquette for attending a funeral. I really can't believe we have to write this one out, but since we said we'll answer your most popular questions, here we are, because this is definitely one of the most popular questions. Funerals are a hard time, and we understand that, but here are some quick and easy rules to remember for being respectful at a funeral. Generally, following the guidelines of don't be a jerk should work. Don't be on your cell phone. We understand you're busy, but this is a time and place to disengage. If you have to be on your cell phone, don't do it inside the funeral home. Don't be loud and obnoxious. You can share happy stories, but other people are also grieving and working through their own healing process. Being quiet gives other people space they might need. Don't get drunk. Everyone can deal with their feelings in their own ways. Just remember to be respectful when with the grieving family and friends. Happily reminisce. Sometimes remembering happy moments and positive experiences with the deceased can be a productive part of the healing process. Give condolences. It's not easy knowing what to say to someone, but even a simple, "I'm thinking of you," can go a long way. Dress appropriately. What this looks like will change based on the customs of the deceased and their culture, but always dress in a way that shows respect to the deceased and their grieving family. Give a gift or sign the registration book. This can be flowers or a nice card, but it's the thought that counts here. Sometimes this can be even just cooking dinner for the grieving family. Anything that shows you care and want to help them through the healing process is what matters here. Be kind and be helpful. That's nice. Alright, that looks like what we're doing. This is the prep room where you will prepare bodies for funerals, for burials, and viewings. Because the family has requested a closed casket ceremony with no embalming, you are just going to clean the body. Click on the sponge and drag it over the body to clean. This looks like a sponge. What are those? Eye caps. Cotton balls, lotion, tubing, cannula, scalpel, needle, glue, razor. Click on the sponge. What's this? Interesting dirt. That's it, you're done. Miss Garcia will be sent to Mike, who will take care of dressing and putting her in the casket. It's time to go to Miss Garcia's funeral. You're responsible for taking care of the deceased's body, but it's also important to pay your respects to their loved ones. Follow the arrow to head to the funeral parlor. Guess we can talk to these people first. Thanks. Hungry? There's finger food right there. I shouldn't click on the casket. There's nothing else to click? Guess that was it. October 11th, 10:09 a.m. I don't know why, but I just put together what that was. It's for you people. Let's see. So this is your sister. Okay. Okay, so let me explain this in a bit more detail. A colleague and I were discussing the tight lacer's liver specimen we have here at the museum. It's from a woman who died in 1907, and the liver is tapered inwards from what the doctor leading the autopsy believed was too tight lacing on her corset. It's fascinating because it's kind of a controversial topic. Tight lacing was super popular, and while people associated it with fainting or hysteria, sigh, it's actually been associated with, bear with me, visceroptosis, which is when the organs fall to the lower part of the abdomen, right? Which is super unsettling, but can also be caused by being pregnant, so TLDR. Corsets probably messed up some bones, but likely didn't do this kind of internal organ damage. And I'm tired of the, I know that word, I swear, and I'm tired of the condescension about my wardrobe that also implies I don't know what I'm doing. These are the kind of things that I specifically research, and yet I'm treated like I know nothing about it. I'm having a day, Charlie. I wonder what she's wearing. Wonder if this is part 1. Wonder if I should be more careful to read part 1 first. Looks like it is part 1. Okay. Can I rant for just a second? I'm so tired of hearing strangers, colleagues, anybody, cough, male colleagues, cough, get on my case for wearing corsets. Ah. I wear them under my blazer and over a nice blouse, so it's not like I'm dressing inappropriately, even though dress codes are such sexist BS anyways. And like, I hate how their misogyny gets veiled in faux concern. Jen, I'm just worried you're damaging your body. You know what corsets do to livers, right? Corsets don't do anything to livers. They're definitely not hurting me as much as your condescension is hurting my head. Ugh, sorry. I'm out of sorts right now. I'll send you another email in a little bit when I've cooled off. When I've cooled off a bit. So it sounds like she didn't... I guess she cooled off a little. We all know everyone wants to be respectful at funerals. Don't talk too loudly, be kind, smile, and refrain from making inappropriate jokes, at least around the grieving family. Hey, sometimes some people do need a little bit of pick-me-up during such hard times. Who are we to judge? And a big part of that is knowing what to wear. Roman Catholic funerals tend to lean more to the formal black attire rule, and it works for us. Did you know this goes back to the days of the Roman Empire where people would wear black as a symbol for mourning? Black isn't universally the symbol for mourning, though, and if you're attending a funeral that is from a culture that is not your own, it's important to understand this. Some colors have different meanings, and despite your best intentions, the wrong choice could mean accidental offense. For example, in Hinduism and in Chinese cultures, white is a typical color for funerals. For Islam, though, it is less about the color you are wearing and more about how modestly you're dressed. Refrain from wearing any elaborate jewelry and be respectful of your behavior. For Sikh funerals, color of the clothing isn't as important as it is dressing modestly and being able to appropriately sit cross-legged. It's very specific. Actually, being respectful is just the #1 rule for any funeral, no matter what, really. Remember that, and please don't hesitate to ask what is and isn't appropriate to wear. If you're attending to support a friend, family member, or partner, this day is not about you, so be sure to do whatever you can to be as respectful and supportive as possible. Even if that means not wearing what you're used to wearing at a funeral, or even if it just means asking how you can appropriately show your respects. So I suppose, or even if it just means asking how you can appropriately show your respects. Hey there, Charlie. I was driving around the other day, taking our clients on their last trip around town, and I was thinking, strange, I know. Did I ever tell you the first time I went to a funeral? I was a teenager, about to start university, and a friend of mine was killed in a car accident, totally out of the blue. Really tragic stuff, messed me and my friends up real good. But, so, the big day, We all got into our best suits and dresses and packed ourselves into a few cars. There were a lot of us, so we had at least 3 different cars full, like clown cars, you know? While we're in the procession going to the cemetery, somebody in our car got a phone call from a friend in a different car. Turns out some asshat driver who doesn't know not to get in the way of a procession drove through the intersection, and smashed straight into our friend's car. Nobody was hurt, thank God, but can you imagine getting that call? Anyways, one of my friends in the same car as me, the one who got the phone call, hung up and started laughing, just laughing her ass off, in that way that makes you not sure if they're really just crying or if they've gone fully off the deep end. And she laughed, and then we all started giggling, because, like, go figure. Life is messed up sometimes, you know? There's no moral, no point to that story, I guess. I just remembered that story and wanted to tell you, because we work with death all the time, and I still sometimes get caught off guard by what it actually means. Oh, and before you get any ideas, that has nothing to do with why I became a funeral director. That decision came totally later and is nothing unremarkable. Somebody has to do it, and I have a strong stomach, so why not? See you in a bit, Charlie. Let's see, start at the bottom. Yeah. Hi, Amy. Please pass along our deepest thanks to you and your staff for the wonderful job they did with our mother's funeral. It was really lovely. Our family so rarely gets together. It was nice seeing everyone come out for such a beautiful service. My son never gets to see his family. Also, it was incredibly kind of you to let us bring our own food in. Getting to share home-cooked meals, sharing stories, being there together. It meant a lot. So what I'm saying is, it was nice for everyone to be there like that, together in that way. And I know how much of that was due to the work of your staff, especially your funeral director. Thanks for making this difficult time easier for us all. Just passing this message along. Thanks for the hard work, Charlie. Next job. Here are the instructions for your next body. You did a remarkable job on the first one. The family was very happy with you. No small feat, of course. Pleasing and grieving families isn't exactly the most comfortable of jobs. Your next job is a man named Mr. Duval. An elderly man, died of old age. Nothing fancy, just a standard funeral with embalming. You can reach out to his daughter, Lizzie Duval, if you have any questions. She's handling her father's passing as well as can be expected. As always, don't hesitate to ask me any questions. P.S. Charlie, dear, please remember to wear the proper embalming gear. Formaldehyde is extremely dangerous. I know I don't need to tell you, but my maternal instincts are hard to ignore. I promise I won't mother you too much. Well, just a little. Ask Matthew, he knows. Start by cleaning the body. I wonder if I should shave his face. Yep. Yes. Like, it's weird to shave an entire body, but whatever. In order to break rigor mortis, you'll have to massage the body. Click and drag over the body to massage it. The eyeballs deflate once the body starts decomposing. Click and drag an eye cap into each socket to give it shape. Interesting. To keep the eyes shut, you'll need to glue them. Click and drag the glue to keep it shut. The mouth sags and hollows once the body starts decomposing. Click and drag a cotton ball into the mouth to give it shape. To keep the mouth from opening, you'll need to suture it shut. Click and drag the needle and thread over the jaw to close it. Moisture. Thanks for the sound effect. Embalming involves removing blood and replacing it with preserving chemicals. Click and drag the scalpel over the neck to make an incision. You're going to need a tube for draining the blood. Click on the tube and drag it to the neck incision. Click on the cannula and drag it onto the carotid. Now you need to connect the embalming machine. Grab more tubing. Click that. Grab some additional tubing and drag it to the there we go. Click the button on the embalming machine to turn it on. Drain the organs. Click on the trocar, then click and hold on the abdomen until all the liquid has been drained. And you're done. Mike will take care of Mr. Duvall's makeup as well as dressing and putting him in the casket. Time to attend the funeral. Interesting things we do to the bodies. Let's see. If you've been a long-time subscriber to our emails or follow us on social media, you've no doubt heard about the misgendering that transgender people are at times subjected to during their funerals. There have been notable situations where trans women have had their wishes overruled by their families and have had their hair cut, are buried under the wrong names, and subjected to the wrong pronouns in their obituary announcements. We care a lot about this because we believe in treating every person with the same level of compassion, respect, and care, and this absolutely extends to pronouns and respecting the deceased's wishes as per their lived experiences. The CDC's Funeral Director's Handbook on Death Registration and Fetal Death Reporting offers the FROT directive. Enter male or female based on observation. Do not abbreviate or use other symbols. If sex cannot be determined after verification with medical records, inspection of the body, or other sources, enter unknown. Do not leave this item blank. Leaving it up to observation obviously enters into a world of issues since bodies can be so different, and because of ingrained bias, people can draw incorrect assumptions based on their own inaccurate observations. California has passed what is known as the Respect After Death Act, which states that the death certificate must reflect the deceased's gender identity as they lived it, so a step in the right direction. People who are trans deserve the same respect in death that people who are cisgender receive. Misgendering in death takes away this respect and can also inflict hurt and trauma on spouses and friends that survived the deceased. So what can we do as funeral directors? Listen to the people who come into your office. In America especially, some marriages may not be recognized as legal depending on how the laws around same-sex marriage. But this doesn't mean you're not dealing with two people who have loved each other in the same way as another couple. Listen, learn, and always be respectful. While you have to work with the next of kin, your duty is also to ensure the deceased receives the utmost respect in their burial. If a funeral director is to honor the deceased, then do that. Honor them. Doesn't really look like anything. Charlie, I was doing some reading. I know you hate it when I try to give you dating advice, but hear me out. There's this dating site that's specifically for people working in the death industry. Okay, so maybe I'm a little worried for you. You haven't mentioned anybody new since the breakup of 2014 that we will never speak of again after this moment. But you're always saying how tired you get of people being scared to ask about your day, so maybe meeting somebody in the industry isn't the worst idea. Just promise me you'll consider it, okay? It's harder for me to make sure you're seeing sunlight when I'm all the way across the ocean. I know you look like a babe with pale skin and witchy gothy aesthetics are super hot right now, but vitamin D is still a good thing. Mom rant over. I'm going to try it out because turns out people get super scared off when you tell them you work in a museum filled with dead bodies. Do you know how not interesting other people find teratomas? Charlie, I didn't know we were this weird to outside people. I've been spoiled by having a best friend who is as much of a weirdo as I am. Miss you. Let's grab a bottle of wine for our next Skype date. P.S. If you sign up for Dead Meat, isn't that the best name for a death industry dating website? Tinder rules apply. You have to like me if you come across my profile or whatever. I'm not sure how it works just yet, though. Thank you for the wonderful evening you and your staff put together for my father's funeral. He wasn't always an easy man to get along with, but I'm glad to have seen him off in such a kind way. Cremation. Today's funeral is for a woman who died from breast cancer. Nothing fancy, just a standard cremation. Please don't hesitate to ask me if you have any questions. Oh, straight over there then, I suppose. We'll need to prepare her body. Miss Hall's family brought clothing and jewelry for her to wear. It's important to remove these before the cremation process as to not damage them. Let's start by removing her necklace. Need to be able to identify Mrs. Hall's remains after she's been cremated. Click and drag the round identification tag and place it in the coffin. Cremulator. Contrary to popular belief, cremation doesn't turn bodies into ash, so much as bone fragments. Using the cremulator will break those bone fragments down into ash-like remains. Let's start by placing the urn in the cremulator. Back into the room and try to do that. This is nice in a weird way. She'd like that we're all here talking. She always tried to keep the family together. The food is delicious. I know that's weird, but these crab cakes are perfect. Glad she was cremated and not in an open casket or something. Seeing her like that, I don't know if I could have. At least we all got to say goodbye. She would have liked that. She would have hated this music. She never wanted her funeral to be sad. She would have wanted us smiling. She said so. She fought really hard. She was proud of herself. She never gave up, not once. Ah. I failed immediately. I was never good at Minesweeper. Green burials. You've lived your life mindful of the environment, doing your part to reduce pollution and generally helping out where you can. So why not continue doing that even in death? At least that's the thinking for a lot of people who are turning to green or natural burials. Natural cemeteries are becoming more popular and are focused on a few rules. Mainly it's that bodies aren't allowed to be embalmed with chemicals that can damage the environment. Bodies must be buried in a biodegradable shroud or casket. Not only is this better for the environment, it's also cheaper. At Union Cemetery in Ontario, Canada, a natural burial is just over $1,000. So better for the people, the environment, and just maybe not so good for big business. Let's not forget, people, this is still a business after all. But really, why go green? Green burials help preserve natural resources, work to reduce carbon emissions, protect the health of those preparing bodies, and restore/preserve natural habitats. Embalming fluids tend to contain formaldehyde, and funeral directors report a higher incidence of leukemia. Going green and not using toxic chemicals for embalming helps protect funeral directors while at the same time lessening the impact we have on the environment after we're gone. We here at Funerals Monthly think green burials are pretty cool. What do you think? Reply and let us know. Charlie, I've been playing this new game when things are slow at work. It's called Tales from the Crypt Sweeper. Oh, it's up there. Get it? It's like Minesweeper, but way harder. Like seriously, it's really, really difficult. And I thought my Minesweeper game was on point after working that overnight front desk job at the hotel for 3 years, but I must have gotten rusty. Anyway, instead of mines, you want to avoid graves, so you don't disturb the adorable ghosts. The main character also kind of looks like you. Want to start a healthy competition? High score gets to pick the restaurant we go to when one of us is in town next. This is my strategy. It doesn't always work. Moons. Always have moons. How? Pooh. A smarter man would play this more strategically. Hi Amy, I know this email might be a bit odd, but you said if I was ever having troubles, I should reach out. And you would know somebody I could talk to about all of this. I don't know what to do now. I know my grandmother had lived a full good life and was very happy, and that she's not in any pain now, but I feel empty, Amy. I've never felt this empty before. What am I supposed to do now? I thought I was stronger than this. Can you refer to me to someone to talk to? I don't want to freak out my mom right now. She's dealing with enough, with work and the will and trying to just be the best mom she can. I just need somebody to tell me that it'll be okay. Thank you, and I'm sorry for being an inconvenience. I thought I would forward this to you. In situations like this, we typically contact people like Ryan with a grief counselor or other professionals who can really help him. Sometimes we get emails like this when people don't know where else to turn. It's difficult, and family isn't always the most reliable for some people. Usually I would be happy to connect him, but I'm feeling a little tired today, not my usual self. And it would be good for you to start building these kind of relationships on your own. You're a treasure, Charlie. So, should I be replying to him? Let's see. Hi Amy, I'm so eternally grateful that you were able to accommodate our requests for my sister's funeral. It was a beautiful service and she would have been happy with it. Such a weird thing to say, isn't it? Thank you, again, from the bottom of my heart. It is with a heavy heart that I write to let you all know that Rose and Daughters will no longer be in business. I just started. I had no idea how to start this email, and resources I googled told me that it would be best and easiest way to break the ice. Be direct but remorseful, Google said. Truth is, I don't really know what to say. Since my father passed away, I've done my best to make Rose and Daughters warm and friendly to anyone who chose to use our services. It was my memorial to him, the original Rose, in a lot of ways. And you've all become like family, including you, Charlie, our most recent addition. But it's been getting harder to make ends meet. Rent is going up in the neighborhood, and I'm finding less and less like I have the energy for this business. There's a lot of competition from other funeral homes, larger corporations than we are that can take on more business and offer more impressive services. You know the way it goes. So, we've been bought, or I sold. Either way, Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated, a company that owns many funeral homes in this city and across the country, will replace Rose and Daughters starting from the beginning of next month. Same building, same name. They're keeping the name Rose and Daughters Funeral Home for tax purposes, though honestly, I'm trying hard not to see it as just a move on their part to keep up the image that it's a family-run business. I don't know how to feel about that, but I also don't know if there's anything I can do at this point either. I've signed the papers. At least my father's legacy is still intact, somewhat. They have a good reputation and have agreed to keep you all on. That was one of my stipulations. I would sell, as long as you all weren't up without a job. Sorry I didn't tell you in a more personal way. I would have loved to have a company lunch, but admittedly, I didn't have the heart to tell you in person. This is easier for me, please understand. That's sad. Please see the note below about the pacemaker. They can be tricky. You asked if there were any special instructions we wanted to pass along. Just please cremate my father. He has a pacemaker too. The doctor told me that would need to be removed. Okay. that mean we need him over here to take it out? That was easier than I anticipated. I wonder if he ever liked me. He was nice to me, but I don't know. He never seemed to like he really cared if I was there or not. It's sad. Did you ever end up clearing the air with your father? No, we talked a few times, but no, not really. He sounded like a difficult man. He was stubborn. That's just it. Stubborn. What do you want to do after this? It's pretty nice out. Let's change and go find a patio. Sounds good. I could really use a beer. Hey, did I ever tell you about the time we tailgated? Sounds like people didn't like this guy very much. I always told him to quit smoking, but of course he never listened to me, so that figures. Things to avoid saying at a funeral. Welcome back. Now we really do listicles here, but for this month's newsletter we thought a listicle would be the best way to deliver this month's advice. What not to say at a funeral. We know figuring out the right thing to say to a grieving friend can be extremely difficult, and since that's such a personal issue, it's hard to give specific advice. Some things will be more comforting to other people, but fortunately, we can deliver a little bit more solid advice on what not to say to someone who is grieving. So here it is, Funeral Monthly's top 5 things to not say at a funeral. At least they're no longer suffering. Even if it is true, nobody wants to hear this, and it's probably not your place to dictate. Who wants to be told that the death of somebody they love is for the best? Like I said, even if it's true, don't be a jerk. Don't be that jerk and just don't say it. Were they saved? No religious statements. Just don't. Why? Because not everyone agrees with your religious views, and not only is it not always comforting, it can be insulting. They're with the angels now. See above notes. Then rinse and repeat. Let me know how I can help. This one is tricky. You want to help, but those in mourning won't always ask for help. If you want to help, suggest specific things. For example, I'm free if you need someone to babysit the kids. Actions are better than passive statements. Cook something for them. Take them to their favorite restaurant or buy tickets to see a movie together. I know how you feel. Even if you think you do, everyone grieves differently. Don't focus this on yourself. Empathy doesn't involve having to commiserate. Sometimes people will want to hear your experiences, but don't assume they will. Ask first. For a quicker version of this list that can be applied in any situation, don't say stuff just for the sake of saying stuff. Just say, I'm sorry, if you don't know what else to say. Mushrooms? Oh. You hate mushrooms so much I found the perfect thing for you. I've been thinking about death. I know, shocker. Look what you've done to me. I think I want this mushroom suit. Oh, I heard about that. No, it's not called that, but I can't remember the name of it, and I'm writing you on my phone, so I don't feel like Googling it right now. Anyway, the idea is that it's this biodegradable suit that the deceased wears. It's made with what people call a biomix, i.e. mushrooms and other microorganisms that help to decompose the body. Excuse me. Let's see. Another microorganisms that help to decompose bodies, neutralize toxins in the body, and provide nutrients for the soil for plants. I think this one company even offers casket liners for use in green caskets. I think this is what I want. It'll just be like Hannibal. Wait, don't tell people I said that, okay? But seriously, it's pretty cool. I love all the death innovation happening. We might as well do something when you're in the ground, you know? Love you. Think about it and let me know your thoughts. I want all of your thoughts. If it's not this, then maybe I'll have my ashes made into jewelry. But seriously, I'm probably gonna do this. There's no harm in planning ahead, am I right? Disregard our son's will as it concerns matters of his burial. He was clearly not thinking right and didn't know what he wanted. Proceed with an open casket funeral. As for payment, we'll bring a check. Charlie, I was hoping you wouldn't have to confront the situation. Yet, anyways, they're never easy. Rose and Daughters has been asked to prepare the body of a young man who took his own life. He had a will prepared and asked for cremation, but the family has demanded a traditional burial instead. Unfortunately, he didn't make anyone his power of attorney, or didn't have any witnesses sign his will, his living will, or his advance directive regarding these wishes, so his family is legally in the right to do whatever they want with his body. It's unfortunate, but we have to do as his family wishes. Matthew has graciously offered to take this on if you're uncomfortable with the subject. Instead, we have a second body you can prepare for a funeral we're hosting later in the afternoon. Charlie, Charlie, is this suicide something you're comfortable dealing with? Let me know, I'm here if you need me. Let's see. So, he wanted to be cremated, but they're insisting on traditional. I mean, I'm uncomfortable going against what the deceased person's wish was. It's their body, man. I'm gonna say I'm not comfortable because I don't want to do a casket when he asked for a cremation. Yeah. It's nice that the game gave me an option. She's no longer suffering or in pain. Yeah, she's in a better place now. She was too good for this world. Okay, thanks, Aunt Sandy. Yeah. I haven't cried since she died. Not once. How is Anna crying and not me? I'm the one who lost a parent. Because it hasn't hit you yet, bud. Where is Maria? She couldn't be here. She didn't want to see her mother's body. I mean, I don't blame her. Anyway, I'm impressed with the food. Did you try them already? It doesn't look like her at all. So I guess we're under new management now. So I suppose I won't be getting any more emails from Miss Rose. Or was it Amy? I don't know if her last name is still Rose. Let's see. Funeral rites, even in our own culture, may be something many of us may be unfamiliar with. For many people, all they know of funeral traditions are what they've seen in media. But, and I think this goes without saying, funeral rites and traditions aren't the same across the board. Different cultures have different protocols for cleaning the body to different aspects of the service itself. Religion provides different paths for dealing with a death. But the goal is almost always the same, offering support, guidance, and ease to the people who are grieving. In Judaism, internment usually begins immediately after somebody has passed. Up until burial, the body is never supposed to be alone, so often families will appoint a shomer, a guardian, to remain with the body. Preparations for burial begin as soon as possible in Muslim traditions as well. Local Islamic community organizations are also often involved and help the family make arrangements for the funeral service and burial. But not all practices are strictly religiously focused. In the aughts in South Korea, the amount of graveyard space began to shrink drastically, causing a law to be passed that required families to remove a loved one's body from its burial place after 60 years. Many families began to cremate more often, but there are also companies that compress remains into beads in turquoise, pink, or black, called death beads. This also occurs in North America, Europe, and Japan, but remains much more common in South Korea because of the space issue in graveyards and the expenses of cremation. And not all practices are somber either. Ever heard of the turning of the bones, or Famadahana? Ritual by Malagasy people of Madagascar. Famadahana has families return to an ancestral crypt, exhume the bodies wrapped in cloth before dancing with the bodies to lively music. This practice is a celebration, remembrance, and way of keeping the deceased involved in family news. I actually have heard of that one before. My mom told me about it. Death can be a difficult time for many people, obviously, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a beauty in the ways we choose to honor and celebrate our deceased. Come increase awareness of death with a view to helping people make the most of their finite lives. Join us, have a tea and cake, and talk with others about our thoughts, fears, and illuminations on death. The founder of the Death Cafe movement, John Underwood, once said, when people talk about death and dying, it tends to illustrate their humanity. See everyone at the Upside Down Jar next Thursday. Can't really write much right now. I have a lot of work I have to do with an inaugural I'm gonna start that one over. Can't really write much right now. I have a lot of work I have to do with an inguinal hernia from 1750. It's the oldest in our collection, and you can even see this bit of paper the surgeon put in after removing the hernia. Super cool. I'll send you the link when we have it cataloged. What is my life? What is the sentence I just typed? But anyway, this event that I'm forwarding you is taking place near you. Figured you'd be into it. Might help with that feeling of restlessness you were talking about before. Could be good to have a talk with about some of the things you're feeling. Lots of death-positive people there. It sounds like it'll be a safe space. Can I just say first off that this is bullcrap? Ugh. Knowing how these corporations run, I wouldn't be surprised if they're monitoring our emails now. No, okay, I don't really believe that. I'm just upset. I get that Amy didn't have much of a choice. You can only fight a huge corporation taking all of your business for so long. This isn't 6 feet under. And they just swooped in. Now we have to deal with their BS practices. They're colder than the corpse I picked up from the morgue this morning. Who charges this much for funerals? It feels dirty and I'm very sorry. I'm running out of air. Exploitive. Let's grab a drink after work. I need to blow off some steam, and emails aren't really the most appropriate place to do this. Too late for me, I guess. Oh, what is this? Drinks after work? We are pleased to bring on Rose and Daughters as part of the Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated. They will be another institution among hundreds of other properties owned across the country. But of course, as part of the adjustment process to Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated culture, there will be a number of changes that will come to Rose and Daughters. We will send out the memo regarding the specifics and details of these changes, and we expect them to be followed impeccably. Glad to be leading the way for Rose and Daughters from now on. He sounds frickin' peachy. I find it kind of interesting that the CEO is sending me my jobs. Details for our next client. Ensure you follow the requested specifications exactly. After you are done, I will review your work in order to properly evaluate you at the end of the month. Thank you, Mr. Grant, for agreeing to take care of Jocelyn's cremation. The bike accident was, well, it was more than I was expecting. I know she wanted to be cremated, and to be honest, I don't think I could bear seeing her like that after what happened. Wow. Lots of people for this one. Should we do a vigil at the spot? Careless drivers, I swear to God. She was always so careful, wore her helmet, signaled Use the bike lanes. Asshole drivers, they need to pay attention. Have you heard what's happening to the driver? No, I haven't wanted to ask Leah. This has been hard enough on them without asking about the legal ramifications of all this. Yeah, after all this, let's see what we can do to help them. Shouldn't deal with the death of their partner all by themselves. I have to go through all of her things. How am I supposed to decide what to keep? If you need help, I can help. No, thanks, but no. I don't know. It's so intimate. It feels like I should do it myself. She would kill me if others saw the things we have. Yeah, she was kind of a closed book, except to you. Yeah, she was special. I'm glad I'm here, but wow, I just need a glass of wine to binge watch something right now. Felt. So glad it was a cremation. I would have lost it seeing her body. This game's a bit different than what I expected, but then again I didn't really read the description for it. Funeral homes. Why do it? The appeal of a home funeral is apparent for many, especially home funerals. I think I read it funeral homes. I don't know. Especially if the deceased was somebody very close to you. The idea of keeping them at home until they are ready to be buried or cremated is comforting. It wasn't that long ago that we were taking care of our own deceased, but nowadays people are quick to... Sorry, I heard something. People are quick to pass off their loved ones to a funeral home. Most families aren't given the option and assume this is mandatory. Funeral homes will almost always prepare the deceased using embalming and other methods to make them appear more alive. But isn't this process counterintuitive to the grieving process? Being around the deceased allows the bereaved to spend a longer period of time with their loved one's body, which can help them mourn or give opportunities to family members and friends to see the deceased one last time before they are taken to be buried or cremated. The idea of keeping the deceased body at home might sound gross, but it's important to understand that decomposition takes a long time, and you can further slow this process by keeping your home cool and dry. To be around your loved ones and to see them decay naturally is an important part of the grieving process. Funeral homes aren't just... Home funerals aren't just more intimate, but they're economical. A traditional funeral, complete with body prep, services, flowers, cards, and many other hidden costs and fees, can cost upwards of $7,000 to $10,000. When you're able to take care of your loved ones yourself, to wash and dress them, and to organize their viewing from home, the only cost remaining is entirely in the cremation or burial itself. However, it's important to understand that different rules apply given in what state you're in. In all states, it is legal to have your loved one's body at home after they die. States like Alabama, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Nebraska, New Jersey, and New York require a funeral director's involvement from signing the death certificate to overseeing burial or cremation. If this is a route you decide to go for yourself or your loved ones, make sure you follow everything by the book. But just know that this may be an option available to you and your loved ones if you so choose. I just saw a video of a gorilla walking on its hind legs. Like a human being, Charlie. A human being. We as a species have seen the beginning of our end. Okay. Hello, Charlotte. Reminds me of my dad talks to my mom. I have reviewed your request on behalf of a potential family inquiring if we at Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated can and will perform green burials. I should have informed you of this in the beginning, but we do not perform green funerals as they are not cost effective. All employees and subsidiaries of Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated must comply. We do not wish to lose potential customers, though, so do try your hardest to convince the families requesting green burials to instead choose a traditional burial package, complete with embalming caskets and vaults instead. I trust you will ensure we do not lose any customers. Wow, what a dillweed. As stated in the previous email, here are the new rules and codes of conduct I expect you to follow from now on while on any premises belonging to Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated. First and foremost, there is a required uniform and strict dress code from now on. Second most importantly, to do this is that no tattoos are to be visible. If you have visible tattoos, ensure they are properly covered and hidden. When speaking with customers and clients, consider the opportunity to upsell, i.e., always encourage the deceased's loved ones to purchase the higher quality package. We find that encouraging loved ones to think of the comfort and style of the deceased as an experience with no price limit. Additionally, food is no longer allowed to be brought in. Instead, encourage the deceased's loved ones to purchase our premium sandwich and appetizer food package. Our partner Catering Concepts provides high-quality food that will be delivered weekly from their factory and can easily be defrosted the morning of the funeral. I expect all of the above changes to be instituted effective immediately to ensure a smooth transition into high-quality services Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated is known for. So we're gonna have a coup? Contract acquisition. Proud to announce HHEI received a contract with the city to dispose of any unclaimed bodies. This is an important revenue stream for us, as I'm sure I don't need to explain to you, Charlotte. Although Hillside Heritage Enterprises Incorporated is being paid a decent wage from the city for those services, cremation is preferred here as it's most cost efficient of the two options. The first unclaimed body we will be handling belongs to a middle-aged man, possibly homeless. His body is yet to be claimed. No special preparations are needed for this cadaver, aside from cremation. How about person? Cadaver. What if he has a pacemaker? Is the thing gonna... Is it gonna blow up? Are we gonna have an explosion? No explosion. Present it to who? Okay. Water cremation. We can call it a few different things, like flameless cremation, a bit of an oxymoron, but we'll let it slide, or perhaps more commonly, recimation. Its technical name, though, is actually alkaline hydrolysis. Whatever we want to call it, it's here and it's an environmentally friendly alternative to traditional cremation. For the sake of this newsletter, we'll call it water cremation. We all know that traditional cremation and burials take a huge toll on the environment, the high energy consumption that adds to the greenhouse gas effect being one of the chief amongst them, and water cremation is an alternative method available for eco-conscious among us. How does it work? It's basically a water-based chemical process that uses really strong alkaline water, heated up to a very high, about 350 degrees. It basically excuse me. It basically works like a sped up version of natural decomposition. The excess water gets put through the same water treatment process as any sewage water at a factory, and alkaline hydrolysis uses significantly less energy than traditional cremation process. Neat, huh? It's been around for a bit, and in some places became legal around the end of the first decade of the aughts. Not a bad alternative for those who don't want their death to have any greater impact on the environment than necessary. This is long. She seems excited. Dating a special effects makeup artist, and she's like the coolest person I've ever met in my life. She totally loves Ava's possession and was equally freaked out by the possession scenes, but so utterly delighted at the idea of a support group for people who have been possessed. That was your best recommendation in a while, Charlie. You were slipping there. I was getting worried you had lost your taste. But yeah, her name is Lily, and she's super death positive and isn't freaked out by my work. And isn't too into it like that last dude I saw. Jason? Michael? Gah, I can't remember. I just really like spending time around her. I can talk about whatever I want, and it's never a conversation stopper. She also totally gets what I mean when I say that, like, working with death and spending so much time thinking about death actually makes me happier. It makes everything else feel so much more worth it, you know? Memento mori or whatever they taught us in that one poetry class we took. We just clicked. Feels good. Fun and affirming, like dating should be. I'm thinking of taking her to Maple Meadows. She's super into roller coasters, and I think the idea of sharing cotton candy, or maybe not, I don't want to throw up on the rides, is sickeningly cute. Then maybe I'll kiss her on top of the Ferris wheel. Be super corny and cliche for once in my life. Anywho, enough about me for now. I'm still kind of in shock from your last email. Do you think you're going to do it? You know you have my support, no matter what, 100% no matter what you decide. I wonder if she's gonna quit. Or send a strongly worded email to the CEO. Oh no, he's officially put 2 weeks in. You know how unhappy I am working for Mega Corporation 101. My skills, especially my driving ones, are useful in other professions, so I'm not worried about myself. But you I am worried about. You're too good for this corporate scum. You actually care about the people you work with and for. Don't let them defeat you, okay? P.S. I'll bring beers over next week. We can talk more freely. My ears. We are thrilled to announce that HHEI subsidiary just signed a contract with this hospital, allowing us to access to all the cadavers that come in through their pediatric and maternity wards. We're excited for the opportunity to work for this hospital, which takes over 100,000 patients and receives over 15 million in funding and donations annually. This will no doubt be a boon for HHEI's bright and sustained future. I see that you were not able to convince the Dimka family to take a standard funeral. I had to contact them myself in order to not lose the sale. Please read the enclosed emails for a lesson on how to properly upsell potential customers. I don't want to see that we've lost any customers because of your refusal to upsell. That's part of your job. Is that 12:59? 8:22:09. Okay. Regarding the last time we spoke, my daughters and I would still prefer to host a home funeral ourselves and keep my wife here until she's ready to be buried. I just want to make sure she's taken care of. Her heart attack was so sudden, we don't know what to do. We just want to make sure she has a proper send-off. I understand your desire to keep your wife at home, but I assure you the best way to honor your wife is through a traditional funeral package instead. I promise you your wife's funeral with us will be a beautiful, intimate gathering where all of your beloved friends and family can come together and say their goodbyes. The standard embalming will allow for everyone to view your wife, ensuring that everyone can see her one final time as she was, beautiful, peaceful, and courageous. Letting us take care of the food with our prepared food service will ensure you don't have a single thing to worry about on this day. You and your daughters are going through such a hard time right now. Let us here at Rose and Daughters make this difficult time a little easier for you. Okay. Strong thoughts, guys. Strong thoughts. Oh, I see she's covering her arms now. When I first became a hearse driver, I was told that my most important job wasn't steering, it was sympathizing. I respectfully disagree, and thankfully, I concentrated on my driving skills, since I'm now working as a, wait for it, bus driver! A school bus driver, Charlie, can you believe that? Pretty sure if I said the most important part of my job now wasn't steering, I'd be fired immediately. I didn't know how else to tell you. For some reason I was worried you'd think less of me, but I don't know why. You've never been the judgmental type. And besides, corpses are way easier to deal with than children. Screaming children, I might add. Actually, I love it. These kids can be pretty cute. But don't tell Amy that I told you that. She was always harping on me for not having any kids and for being cynical about them. Congrats on your new business, Charlie. I'm proud of you. I'll swing by your new place one day and show you my new wheels. Maybe we can grab a bite to eat. Aw, she's got her own business. So happy for you. I know it's been a rough year for you. Seriously, I think our wine intake saw a bazillion% increase, but you've stuck through it all like a champ. You deserve this. Finally, being your own boss is a great move for you. No more having to explain anything you don't want to. I'm trying to not be too cheesy right now. Can't wait to be home next week for our visit and check out your new space. P.S. Have you heard about these green burial pods? When I find the link in my 1 million open tabs, I'll shoot it over to you. Today's the day, isn't it? I can't believe how quickly this has come up. Thank you for your understanding and for your work. You've made today easier already. Oh. Magnolia Forest. This hurts. I thought it'd be easier, but it's not. It hurts so much. But thank you for helping me give her the funeral she always wanted. Anyway, I think we're ready to get started now. Alright. Not what I was expecting, but like 10 out of 10 good game. Thank you for making the game. Alright, see you guys next time.